being the second generation sons of immigrants in Canada, our lineage here doesn't really go back more than a generation or so. And so it's very easy to feel sort of like a disembodied soul in this country. And having gone back to Poland and seeing the towns where our Bobby and Zadie came from, that really, it may not be the old country anymore, but for me and for David, it felt like the old country, and it felt like we were revisiting where we came from.
In the town of Wierzbnik, which was neighboring with the city of Starachowice, we had in Wierzbnik, we were the majority of people. In Starachowice, we were a very small minority because it was very anti-Semitic. This town was a very, very strong anti-Semitic town. Jews up on the other side of town were not that comfortable to live, so most of us lived in the town of Wierzbnik. On October 27, 1942, all the Jews from town, plus the ones who were brought in here before the deportation, were brought out and chased out to this market square. That day was one of the worst experiences a person can imagine. The screams and yellings were just beyond comprehension.
Before we left Toronto to travel to Europe and go to Poland, I had spoken with Abe Zuckerman, and he had given me the names of some contact people in Wierzbnik who could help us locate various landmarks, including where our Zadie grew up. And I saw the doorway that seemed to be, according to all the information I had, where our Zadie came from.
I think this is it. 12 is there, 14 is there. I was told to go through and look on the top.
So we walked through the doorway, and it took us into this little back alley type sort of thing. And there we stood, and that was pretty much, this is it. We'd found our Zadie's home.
Original building?
This wood is new.
Yes. Original?
Original.
This is original. Not just painted?
Covered. No, covered. In my opinion, covered. Wood, this wooden covered is new. It was renovated, but in original shape.
Ono jest pomalowane,
This could be
tylko,
it.
ale jest stare.
Yeah.
We weren't perfectly sure that this is where it was, and I guess we still aren't. But I think we were in the right neighborhood, and that was close enough to really feel a sense of, this is where my family starts, this is where my grandfather came from.
This here on your left is where the synagogue was. It was built in 1905. It was burned on Yom Kippur night of 1939 when the Germans occupied this town. And it was never rebuilt, as you can see. It was taken over by some people, and they built their own building on it. This is where I was born in August of 1930. I think originally it was, when I was born, the house was a little smaller. The second part, the upstairs, was built later on that I do remember having the addition done. The house is now occupied by some people that we don't know. And I asked them once before if they'll let me have a look inside. They said, what's the difference? It's so many years going by, I'd rather not let you in. So I never pushed the idea again.
You know, I know many Jewish cemeteries in relatively good state. This cemetery. I can show you some other in terrible state. Simply, sometimes nothing or two broken, lying tombstones. It's all. And grass, bushes. This is very good state. I am surprised. I am surprised of this cemetery.
This gentleman here is Maciej Frankiewicz. He's by profession an artist, a painter. Maciej and his wife Anita also look after our cemetery, which is the only one in the area left as a cemetery. He is doing an excellent job. We thank him, we appreciate what he's doing for us.
Meeting Maciej Frankiewicz was very interesting, and it really completed the experience, and it wouldn't have been the same without him. He took us to his house and showed us all these artifacts that he had of Jewish life in Wierzbnik. He had an old yarmulke that he had found, part of a Torah scroll that somebody had turned into a drum skin. All these artifacts were extremely interesting, and he had old newspapers as well. And it was really some real hard evidence that, yeah, Jews lived here, and there was a whole town and a whole life here, and this was my town, my life in a certain way.
Maciej and his wife, she works in the local newspaper, usually writes a lot on Jewish themes and trying to make sure that the people that read the paper know about Judaism as much as she can. And he is very interested in our past here. He's digging into the archives to find out what happened here. And he eventually wants to establish a small museum of the Jews and try and bring in as many people from the Polish population to get to be knowledgeable of what happened to the Jews in this town.
Maciej's painting and his artwork was absolutely astonishing. He's an incredibly prolific painter and has a really incredible style. I was struck by how poignantly he is able as an artist to capture Jewish life in Wierzbnik, something that he never actually witnessed. That he can actually paint these scenes of street life in Wierzbnik that are just so poignant and seem to really capture what life was like there. There may be some sort of romanticized aspect to his work, but you know, he also captures in his work a lot of the tragic events of the Holocaust. And I mean, frankly, I just think he's a terrific person and a terrific artist. And his artwork really demonstrates how much he empathizes with Jewish history and Jewish culture, and how important a person he is to have there in Wierzbnik to maintain that history.
He feels he would have been great friends with Jewish people because he's got a feeling for it. He feels Poland, not only this little town, but Poland as a country has lost a lot because Poland had an awful lot of Jewish people involved in the cultural and the business world that this cannot be replaced.
Moshe, how do you feel when a man, a survivor, comes back to his hometown to see what's here?
Jakie jest wasze, jak ja tu przyjechałem z powrotem, jakbyś czucie o tym? Co wasze czucie jest?
Jak rodzina.
It's a family.
Dziękuję.
Okay. Dobra. Proszę bardzo, zapraszam.
When we were in Wierzbnik, we had the Yisker book, we had photocopies of the Yisker book and all the pictures from there with us, and we tried to go and take pictures to compare with these older pictures of the town then and now.
Can he figure out where this was taken from? This bridge? The angle of the road is exactly the same. It's uncanny.
And we took all these great pictures and we went to such great lengths, and then the roll of film didn't come out in the end, and that was a real disappointment. But next time I go back, I'll take those pictures again.
So you plan to go back?
Yeah, I'd like to go back.
It's tradition. You gotta eat simmers.